What the fuck? What possessed this nigga to grab the dog by the neck and post a picture about it, cuz?
I've been on these drugs, can't get away. Might call me a dog, might call it eight. Stop calling it love, these niggas fake. Said, baby, I know how it goes.
YouTube, what's going on? It's your boy CamBeenFyee, Cam. We back with another banger video. You feel me? Today's video, we got a crime video. He played the perfect grieving fiance until one detail destroyed his alibi. This is a crime documentary, y'all. If y'all are new to the stream, make sure that like, share that, comment, that subscribe button. Make sure you turn on the post notification knowing I drop a banger. Nigga, I be dropping videos all the time. So if y'all haven't done that yet, the fuck is y'all niggas doing? Make sure y'all subscribe, real shit. We're also live every single day on Twitch. So if y'all haven't followed Twitch, make sure y'all follow the Twitch, man. But without further ado, let's get into this banger. And y'all already know we got in our motherfucking hand. If y'all don't know, now y'all motherfucking know. Let's see what he do to fuck up his alibi, y'all. And like I said, make sure y'all follow the fuck up. But without further ado, let's get into this bitch.
October 2023. Fort Worth, Texas.
Okay, I think that's where
An emergency dispatcher receives a distress call.
Okay.
On the other end of the line is a man in genuine panic. His voice is breaking. He's crying, and he's begging for help to be sent immediately. He claims that his girlfriend has just been fatally injured by their own family dog.
Damn.
Police officers and paramedics are dispatched to the scene. Before we walk into that apartment alongside investigators, let me make a quick detour.
Okay.
I always look for real documented cases for you.
Okay, man,
Cases backed by official records,
Shout out
where the
records.
raw facts are far more shocking than anything fiction could come up with.
Type shit.
If you appreciate that approach, consider supporting the video with a like.
Yeah,
and a
if y'all fuck with my
subscription
channel, make sure
so
y'all
you
subscribe.
don't
You know what I'm
miss
saying?
future stories.
Factual.
Thanks. Now, let's get back to the investigation.
Alright, let's go.
When officers enter the apartment, they find Sheila Cuevas unresponsive on the floor.
Damn.
Animal control follows its standard protocol and takes custody of the dog,
Okay.
a pet named Soldier.
Damn. Shout out.
Not
Soldier,
long
bro.
afterward,
I
the
don't think
dog is
Soldier
euthanized after being
Damn.
officially classified as a dangerous animal
Damn.
responsible for a fatal incident.
That's sad.
The apartment's owner appears completely devastated. He's overwhelmed with grief and can barely keep himself together. At first glance, everything looks like a horrific accident. But Detective Tracy Dixon isn't ready to jump to conclusions.
Factual.
She studies the layout of the room, the placement of objects, and the overall scene.
Damn.
Then she notices something
Are these real videos? Like, is this real? I don't think this is real videos. I think this is just some acting shit.
troubling. This doesn't look like the aftermath of a chaotic animal attack at all.
And they killed the dog for
Instead,
no reason.
it resembles a carefully arranged, cold, and deliberate stage set. That raises an obvious question. Why would someone want to place the blame on the dog?
Hold on. So we're just getting this bitch started. But if the dog killed the lady, right? Wouldn't she have bite marks all over her body? How the fuck did he make the dog bite the girl? We're gonna have to see what this y'all talking about.
And why was this crying man so confident that law enforcement would accept the story without question and believe his seemingly perfect alibi?
Bro, take him
To
more.
understand who this grief-stricken boyfriend really was, we need to rewind the clock and step outside that Texas apartment. Meet 34-year-old Caleb Mickens.
Light-skinned ass nigga.
Online, he was better known by a far more prestigious alias, Cash Cartier.
Cash Cartier.
Nearly
Okay.
100,000 followers watched him every day as he presented himself as a cryptocurrency investing expert,
Oh,
business
damn.
mentor, and financial influencer who had supposedly mastered the system. His primary source of income was a training platform called I Am Academy. At the height of his online activity, Caleb was reportedly bringing in around $20,000 a week. The business model was remarkably cynical. He earned a direct commission for every new person he could recruit into the organization. Years later, regulators would accuse the platform of operating through pyramid-style structures
Oh,
and
pyramids mean
impose
fuck.
massive financial penalties.
Fuck.
But at that time, Caleb was sitting at the top of the hierarchy. He sold his audience a carefully crafted illusion of success, posting videos
Scamming
about
their ass.
overcoming hardship and building wealth from nothing.
No. The only time nobody gonna help you with hardship but the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Just let that be known.
People believed him. They purchased subscriptions and trusted him with money they could barely afford
Hey!
to lose.
Yo,
But if he
Jason,
put down
chill
a
out.
smartphone and
Chill
pulled
out with his
police
zest.
records from California dating
Chill out with
back
his
to
zest fest, nigga.
2011, we find a very different story.
Type shit.
In the actual court documents, there is no mention of a successful trading career. Instead, there is a documented fact: an arrest and a prison sentence for causing severe bodily injury. After serving his sentence and returning to the outside world, he learned one important lesson. Street crime was a prison cell. So he completely changed his methods. His natural aggression, his need for total control, and his desire to dominate other people were carefully repackaged into the image of a confident online business mentor.
Entrepreneur, facts.
The internet became his new weapon. Caleb mastered the art of manipulating large audiences from a safe distance, the image of wealth, credibility, and success around himself. One thing I keep noticing in cases like this is a disturbing pattern. The new generation of criminals doesn't hide in dark alleys anymore.
Yeah, facts.
They buy a ring light, set up a camera, and show up directly
that's the
on
thing,
our
cuz.
phones.
These niggas be dumb nowadays, cuz.
For
They be
years,
posting.
this carefully
Niggas be scamming and be like, oh, tap in with the banks and then post $100,000 in their hand like this. Flexing. Nigga got 4 Corvettes. That's why y'all niggas be getting caught up, dum-dums. Like, what?
engineered system of deception worked almost flawlessly. And it wasn't just inexperienced followers who got caught in the trap. Before long, Caleb began using the exact same persuasion techniques on women who believed the polished digital persona he presented to the world. His smartphone screen became the perfect training ground for the controlling behavior that would later spill into his personal relationships. And that's exactly how Sheila became entangled in the web he had spent years building.
Oh my God.
She was the complete opposite of the typical audience targeted by online financial influencers. Sheila graduated from college with honors, built a stable and practical career, and had accumulated substantial personal savings. She had a clear vision for her future and strong
that
support
shit's sad,
from
cuz
a
I ain't
loving
gonna
family.
lie.
Caleb applied the same proven persuasion strategy to her with remarkable precision,
Okay, so
presenting
these are
himself as a
business
respected
tactics.
expert who showcased success to thousands of followers every day. He repeatedly encouraged Sheila to invest her money into his ventures. His arguments sounded convincing, confident, difficult to challenge. Eventually, Sheila trusted him and transferred her assets.
She
Within a
transferred her
surprisingly
assets,
short
cuz.
period of time, those savings disappeared into a network of financial arrangements that offered very little transparency. And that's when we see the first major shift in Caleb's behavior. At the same time, the carefully constructed empire he had built online was beginning to face serious problems. Regulatory agencies started taking a closer look at Academy, and the flow of new recruits slowed dramatically. The steady stream of easy money that had fueled his lifestyle for years began to shrink. He hadn't lost everything yet. Online, the image of a successful entrepreneur was still intact. The social media posts were still there. The appearance of success remained. But for the first time, cracks were starting to show. And with those cracks came anxiety. Feeling his status and income under threat, Caleb experienced a major blow to his inflated sense of self-worth. All of that growing frustration quickly became focused on the one person who happened to be living with him. This is where a classic criminal pattern begins to emerge. A lot of people assume controlling relationships start with shouting, obvious confrontations, or visible acts of aggression.
Why you choking a dog like? What the fuck? What possessed this nigga to grab the dog by the neck and post a picture about it, Okay.
In reality, the strongest prisons are often built from empty bank accounts. Caleb began systematically cutting Sheila off from her relatives and close friends.
Damn.
Any attempt she made to maintain outside contact was quickly shut down, and in its place, he pushed his own distorted version of reality. He monitored where she went, kept track of when she returned home, and turned everyday life into a system of constant check-ins and accountability. The man who had once influenced thousands of people through a screen had now narrowed his need for control down to a single apartment. At that point, Sheila could no longer simply pack a suitcase, call a cab, and return to her family.
Because she broke.
The reality was much simpler than that. She no longer had enough money of her own to buy a plane ticket, or even
Damn,
pay for
bro.
a hotel room for a
He
few
done,
days.
bro. He done took that girl's shit, left her in the dirt, cut. Now she's dead, cut. Wow, people are crazy, cut. Real shit. These motherfuckers nowadays is fucking insane.
Her financial safety net had been wiped out, and her outside support system had been deliberately dismantled.
Yeah, fact,
The
nigga.
perfect closed environment for escalating physical intimidation had now been fully established. As the isolation continued to grow, Sheila's smartphone became her only remaining connection to the outside world. And then, unexpectedly, a powerful warning appeared. It arrived through a private Instagram message. The sender was a woman named Carrie, living thousands of miles away from Texas and Scotland. She wasn't a random critic.
Bitch from Scotland? How the fuck? Yo.
She wasn't another disappointed customer from one of Caleb's financial programs. Carrie was his former wife. Years earlier, she had believed the same story about the perfect man. She left her home in Europe and crossed the Atlantic to build a life with him.
What the
The message
fuck?
she sent wasn't emotional ranting. It wasn't filled with insults. Wasn't driven by jealousy. What Sheila
she was trying to
received
warn
was
him.
something much more unsettling. It read like a survival guide.
Oh my
Carrie
god.
directly warned her about the person she was actually living with. She explained details about his extensive legal history and his pattern of aggressive behavior. Step by step, she described the cycle she had experienced herself. First, he isolates you from the people around you. Then,
Damn,
he
she was giving
gradually
it- she
takes
was giving her
away
ass
your independence.
tips to survive.
And after that, the intimidation becomes increasingly
capitalist.
severe. The message ended with one simple plea: leave now, while you still have the ability to walk away on your own. Let me ask you something honestly. Take a second before answering.
Alright.
What would you do if you received a warning that detailed from someone who had already lived through the exact same situation?
Get missing, duh.
Most of us would probably pack our belongings and head for the door immediately.
Like what?
But that's not what happened. The message from Scotland went unanswered. Sheila didn't contact law enforcement. She didn't reach out to her family. The explanation for what seems like an impossible decision lies in the mechanics of control itself.
At this point, it's her fault.
By this point, Caleb hadn't just taken her money. He had gained access to passwords, private accounts, and nearly every personal boundary she had left.
Oh, no.
He personally monitored incoming calls. He read messages. He positioned himself as the gatekeeper of information, deciding what she was allowed to see, hear,
He's
and
seen
believe.
that. Oh, he must have seen the
Over
messages.
time, Caleb systematically convinced Sheila that Carrie was emotionally unstable and driven by deep resentment toward their relationship. Any attempt from the outside world to tell her the truth was immediately turned upside down. He was remarkably skilled at presenting himself as the innocent target of false
Facts. That nigga was-
accusations, insisting
getting
that
right
his
when he
bitter
thinks, man.
ex-wife was simply trying to
nigga's
destroy the
old.
happiness he had found with someone new. Day after day, little by little, that psychological conditioning began to take effect. Warnings from outsiders no longer felt like warnings. The information blockade worked exactly as
He
intended.
really took that girl
It
money.
burned the last remaining
And went
bridge to
broke.
the outside world and sealed the trap shut. Then, in the spring of 2023, after realizing that private warnings weren't making any difference, Carrie completely changed her approach. The situation moved out of direct messages and into the public eye. She published everything she had collected on her social media pages. And these weren't vague accusations or emotional statements.
The fuck?
She released documented evidence, photographs of documented injuries, screenshots containing direct threats,
Oh shit.
detailed accounts
She was
explaining the
exposing that
methods
nigga.
of control and intimidation she said she had experienced. The impact was immediate. What happened next set off a powerful chain reaction. Within just a few days,
low-key got that girl
12 more
killed.
women decided to come forward with stories of their own. Among them were Darian and Ashley. What makes this especially significant is that these women lived in different cities and, in many cases, had never even met one another.
Yeah, he was trying
Yet
to get
their
them
accounts
apart.
followed the exact same pattern. Their statements matched down to the smallest details. First came control over personal finances, then isolation from friends and family,
Nah, that's
and
bogus.
finally, increasingly severe physical intimidation behind closed doors. Take a moment to look at the scale of what was unfolding.
He would pull a
More
hoes
than
from
a
different
dozen
countries.
independent witnesses were now publicly describing what they claimed were repeated incidents of aggression. At that point, an obvious question emerges. How does someone with such an extensive trail of documented allegations remain free, continue
Nice.
living comfortably, and avoid sitting in a jail cell awaiting trial? The answer can be found in court records from Dallas County. Before this wave of public attention ever began, the Texas legal system had already had Caleb in custody. One of the women who later spoke publicly, Dorian, had managed to leave the
Dorian?
relationship, document her
That's a
injuries,
girl name?
and initiate a formal
I ain't
investigation.
never heard no shit like that.
According to court records, investigators gathered enough evidence to move forward. Law enforcement followed standard procedure. Caleb was arrested on charges connected to domestic aggression, and the case was placed before a judge. But inside the courtroom, something happened that would eventually contribute to devastating consequences. A carefully prepared support group arrived on behalf of the defendant. Friends, associates, business partners. One after another, they testified under oath and presented glowing character references. Defense witnesses described him as an exceptionally respectable man, a generous mentor, and a successful entrepreneur who had supposedly made mistakes while dealing with intense personal stress. For the court, those statements painted a very different picture from the one being described by the women who had come forward. The court accepted those statements at face value. The judge declined to send the aggressor to prison. Instead, Caleb received probation and was ordered to complete standard anger management classes. For a case involving documented physical aggression,
all these bitches.
the outcome was remarkably...
Oh, look. God, why they keep pulling this picture up, God? They got this nigga choking the dog out. So zesty like. But like I was saying, bro, low key, the judge, the other women, they all low key got that girl killed. But that girl low key dumb for not listening. No cap.
Lenient. Legally, he was classified as someone who did not pose a significant threat to the public. He was released under supervision and allowed to walk out of the courtroom.
That's their problem.
That decision would later become a critical turning point in the entire case.
Facts.
After avoiding serious consequences for behavior that had already been proven in court, Caleb walked away with something even more dangerous than freedom. He walked away believing he was untouchable. The justice system had failed at a crucial moment. A man with a documented history of aggressive behavior was released back into society, and the very safeguards that were supposed to protect future victims simply stopped functioning. The legal barrier that should have prevented further harm was no longer there. Then came the public fallout.
He really loved his dogs.
Once the evidence presented by 12
He really
women
loved
became
it.
widely known, Caleb's online empire collapsed completely. Before that, he had already been struggling financially because of problems surrounding the platform.
Yeah, nigga.
Now the damage went far beyond money. His image fell apart. Remaining sponsorships disappeared almost overnight. Former supporters turned
you
away.
were fucking all, bro. That's why you
The
gotta live
income
with God,
stream
man.
that had once fueled his lifestyle dried up completely. The mask was gone. What remained was a man with empty bank accounts,
Empty,
a
broke.
shattered reputation,
Shattered
and a
reputation.
growing public record of alleged aggressive
Nigga was
behavior.
an abuser.
Against the backdrop of that personal collapse, something
Now you
unexpected
finna take that
happened.
shit out on the girl.
For a short time, Sheila managed to create distance between herself and him. At first, it looked like the opportunity everyone had been hoping for,
Yeah.
a chance to finally get away. But Caleb had no intention of letting go so easily. After losing influence over thousands of followers, he tightened his grip on the one person still within reach. Almost immediately, he changed
After return.
tactics. He launched a targeted campaign against Sheila's reputation online. Using what remained of his loyal fan base, he encouraged a wave of harassment directed at her. Accusations flooded social media. People labeled her greedy. They called her disloyal. Meanwhile, Caleb publicly portrayed himself as the real victim. shifting responsibility for his failures onto her. And this is where one of the most effective manipulation tactics begins to appear. Just a few days before recording this video, I spoke with a crisis psychology specialist who pointed out something important. The most powerful weapon in relationships built on control isn't constant hostility. It's the sudden reversal. After public attacks and
look how the
humiliation,
big dress, bro. Big buff ass, got them little skinny ass pants on, that little ass shirt. Like, bro, you too big to be dressing like that, bro.
The aggressor abruptly changes course. Private messages replace public criticism. Apologies replace accusations. Promises replace threats. He begs for forgiveness. He claims everything happened because of stress, financial pressure, and the collapse of his business. He promises to change. He promises it will never happen again. And that strategy can be incredibly effective against someone who has already been isolated from family, support systems, and personal independence. Before long, Caleb got exactly what he wanted. Sheila forgave him, and she returned. She crossed the threshold of their shared apartment once again, but by then, the balance of power inside that home had changed completely. Before the public scandal, Caleb had still maintained at least a small performance of normal life. He needed the image. He needed the social media posts. He needed followers to believe he was the perfect partner. Now that incentive was gone. There was no longer any reason for him to keep up the act. He didn't need to play the role of the ideal boyfriend anymore. From that moment forward, the isolation became nearly absolute. Every connection to the outside world was cut off. No online communication.
Look. People be having this, like, this shit be going on right now in the real world. And when the nigga leave for work, why the fuck did he be staying in the house, cuz? Like, what the fuck? There should be shit like that be throwing me off, cuz. And I'm fried, so it's extra throwing me off.
No meaningful contact with friends or family. Sheila found herself trapped inside an apartment with a man whose anger over the collapse of his life had reached a breaking point. All of the frustration from his personal failures had become focused on the one person still within reach. Only a few hours remained before the events of October 8th. October 8th, 2023. Fort Worth, Texas. We're now returning to the night where this investigation began. But this time, we're not relying on the emotional story told by the man on the emergency call. Instead, we're following the medical evidence. Because it was inside the medical examiner's office that the carefully constructed story about a family dog suddenly fell apart. The first major blow to that explanation came from toxicology results. Laboratory testing revealed an extremely high concentration of powerful sedative medications in Sheila's system. And let's be honest for a second. Family pets do not somehow administer tranquilizers before an incident occurs.
Facts.
That single fact immediately challenged the idea that this was a tragic accident. Investigators now had a very different picture. The evidence suggested that Sheila had been heavily sedated beforehand, leaving her unable to effectively respond, call for help, or leave the apartment. It pointed to planning rather than spontaneity. Then medical specialists moved on to examine the physical injuries. Imaging studies revealed extensive trauma, including multiple rib fractures and deep puncture wounds. The force involved was so significant that examiners documented a specific injury, commonly known in medicine as cauliflower ear. This type
that's
of
when the ears
cartilage
swell up
damage
and shit.
is
when they
most
be
often
fighting.
associated with professional
You
combat
got fat ass
athletes
ears,
after
that's what the
repeated
cauliflower
heavy
shit is.
impacts to the side of the head. When you look at those findings, one question immediately
A
comes
dog
to
can't do
mind.
that.
How did anyone expect injuries like these to be attributed solely to a dog?
Yeah, I'm about to say a dog can't do that.
Experts
Dumbass shit.
reconstructed what they believed had actually happened. The evidence did not support a brief argument or a sudden outburst. Instead, the condition of the body suggested a prolonged period of aggression directed at someone who had already been rendered largely defenseless by medication. And when it was over, when Sheila was no longer breathing, investigators found no indication of a frantic attempt to save her. According to the prosecution's theory, Caleb had time. Time to collect himself. Time to look around the apartment. Time to begin shaping a different story.
Look, he got her taking out the trash and shit, called niggas ain't shit.
Investigators later concluded that items inside the residence had been deliberately arranged to support the version of events he intended to tell. The same carefully staged scene that Detective Tracy Dixon would eventually recognize. Only after he was satisfied that everything appeared believable did he pick up the phone and contact emergency services. On that call, he delivered a dramatic performance filled with panic and tears.
I've been wanting to hear that shit.
But investigators would later argue that another decision made that night revealed just how far he was willing to go. To strengthen his story, he blamed his own dog, Soldier. He understood exactly what that accusation would trigger. A dog officially identified as responsible for a fatal incident would almost certainly be taken into custody and euthanized under standard procedures. That meant one very important thing. The animal would never be available for further examination that might challenge his version of events. According to investigators, every living being inside that apartment had become expendable if it helped protect his freedom. Immediately after his arrest in October 2023, while forensic specialists were only beginning to analyze the medical findings, Caleb did something that still feels unsettling to read about. Sheila's family.
He put a GoFundMe up for the girl. Yo, people is crazy. I ain't gonna lie. Y'all motherfuckers is wildin'. Woo!
Family created a GoFundMe page to help cover funeral expenses. And among the people who donated, one name stood out. He contributed $200 and left a short public message. "I love you." At that point, you almost have to stop and ask yourself how this case could become any more disturbing. According to prosecutors, a man responsible for the events that ended Sheila's life had already blamed his own dog to protect himself.
Facts.
And now, he was attempting to present himself as the grieving boyfriend with a $200 donation and a carefully chosen comment. Investigators would later view it as one final attempt to shape public perception and preserve the image he had spent years creating. But that performance finally came to an end in April inside a Tarrant County courtroom. And this is where an important legal detail reveals how the system sometimes operates in complex cases. Prosecutors did not pursue the most direct homicide charge available. Why? Because of the extraordinary severity of the injuries involved. The documented trauma was so extensive, and the concentration of sedative medication was so significant that the medical examiner could not identify a single, definitive cause of death for the court.
Third degree?
A skilled defense team could have focused on that uncertainty and attempted to create reasonable doubt before a jury. So prosecutors chose a different strategy. Rather than risk losing the case, they pursued a first-degree aggravated assault charge, supported by the strongest available evidence. The trial itself became a complete dismantling of the identity Caleb had spent years building. One after another, surviving women took the witness stand. Among them were Carrie, Darian, and Ashley. Under oath, they described experiences they had previously been too afraid to discuss publicly. Court records included testimony describing years of psychological control, repeated intimidation, and other deeply troubling allegations. This time, glowing character references and support from wealthy associates made no difference. The court weighed the evidence, the testimony, and the documented history together. For the crime against Sheila, Caleb was sentenced to 40 years in prison.
Damn.
Then the justice system addressed an earlier failure. An additional 20 years were added for violating the probation terms connected to Darian's case.
Okay, so he got 60 years.
And finally, another 15 years were imposed for a proven armed assault case
75
involving Ashley in Dallas County. 75 years behind bars.
Ooh, you see the math?
The online empire of Cash Cartier disappeared almost overnight. The man who spent years selling people a carefully crafted illusion of success while believing he could avoid consequences forever ended up exactly where he never imagined he would be.
Damn.
No more luxury cars,
Started from the
no more
bottom,
live
now we head
streams,
back to the bottom.
no
bitch.
more carefully managed image, and no more opportunities to create new victims.
Y'all, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. The way that people be manipulating and taking control of people, and people just be me personally, I'm not getting manipulated. That's dead. You ain't finna make me do what you want me to do, nigga. I'm gonna do what I want to do. You feel me? But if y'all enjoyed the video, man, make sure that like, share, that comment, that subscribe button. Make sure you turn on them post notifications, bitch ass nigga. I tell y'all this every video. And if y'all haven't followed the Twitch, man, make sure y'all follow the Twitch. But it's your boy, CamBeenFyee, and I'm out this John. Peace.
Outside with my niggas, we doing the most. Grabs on the table, yeah, I been gone. At the base and shorty, she trying to pin it over. Keep steady, I told him I'm on one.